Hi everyone. Today what I really wanted to talk about was some of the frustration that people are feeling that when you've woken up, it can be really frustrating because other people around you aren't awake and they seem to be stuck in 3D, stuck in this movie. And I guess at some level we wonder, can this whole move to 5D even happen with all these other people who are still asleep? So what I wanted to do today was use an analogy of the human body to understand what's happening to us. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know I really like analogies. I think that if we can find a way to look at something that we do understand to explain something we don't understand, it can be really helpful. So this is the nature of life. It's fractal. Everything is a self-similar pattern. And what that means is we can look at something smaller to understand something bigger or vice versa, because everything really has the same pattern. So first of all, what if we look at Gaia as an organism, like the human body is an organism, and just like the human body has cells, we are Gaia's cells. And just like in the human body, every cell has a completely different and unique function to perform. So do we with Gaia. So when you're awake, there are lots of different functions that you can be performing. So as an example, you might be a white cell. Now, a white cell basically goes around the organism and picks up any foreign objects, anything that doesn't serve the body, and clears it. So in the same way, a human white cell might be clearing and purging negative emotions that no longer serve the organism. As someone awake, you could be a neuron. There are many different functions of neurons, so to sense and experience. So maybe your role is to be Gaia's senses and experience life, and so that feeds back into the organism. Neurons, of course, are also brain cells, so maybe your job is to imagine, using the higher mind, imagine the new earth into existence. Other types of cells that are really interesting. So what if your job is a stem cell? So stem cells create they make new cells of all different types. So they're basically healers. Now another type of cell that someone awake could be one of those liver cells that has a memory for producing antibodies to foreign objects in the system, like bacteria or viruses. So those cells have a memory of what has not served in the past so that they can clear it in the future. And the great thing about these cells is that they develop new memories of new things that continue to help and further the organism. So, there's a lot of different functions that we can have, and it's very hard to understand someone else's function. It's kind of like saying, how can a liver cell understand what a brain cell or a white cell has to do, and vice versa? You don't even have to understand it. You just have to do your function and worry about your function and what comes naturally. And then we could think about the people that we see as not being awake and being stuck in 3D. And I mean, who's to say that they're to wake up? What if their role is to provide functions that aren't necessary for them to wake up to? What if they're bone cells, providing structure and rigidity to the form so that it stays healthy? Or what if their job is just simply to digest nutrients, to send them around to all the other cells so that they can do their job? Or maybe their job is to be a skin cell and just to provide a boundary to the body so that it can be protected from the outside world. So we just all have different functions, and I think the really interesting thing here is that it's all about trusting that we do our function and all the other cells do their function. And the other really interesting thing here is that if you look at how the human body works, there's a communication network. So not just by the neurons, but also by all the glands that produce all the hormones to send messages around the body. So there's a group of awake human cells who are creating and sending these messages around the body. So at the end of the day, the cells that are not awake, that don't need to be awake, are going to receive the messages, and they're going to respond to the messages because that's their role. Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. And the other really good thing about looking at what's happening as a human body is that if you think about it from the perspective of any cell, is that any problem that that cell has tends to be resolved by a different type of cell. So if you are a cell and you struggle with some sort of, bacteria invading you, you don't know how to fix it or how to get that bacteria out of you. That's not your function. So along comes the white cell, and the white cell knows exactly what to do. It knows how to pull that bacteria and take it out, down through the bloodstream and out of the body. So just like I think is really important to what we're going through now, is it's just so important to trust that there is something beyond us that knows how to fix things and knows how to do this. And at the end of the day, it's a collective process where we all bring our functions together to do this. We can't do it on our own, and we have to trust that everyone else is doing the exact role that they need to do. So I hope that that's given just a different perspective on some of the people around us that, we might be struggling with, trying to wake them up, trying to force them to, get on board. At the end of the day, they're performing their function, and that's exactly what needs to happen. Everything is in divine and perfect order.